Seniors, I am begging you to stop eating these 5 vegetables that are slowly damaging your heart. If you are over 60, then every bite of food you put into your mouth is not just nutrition, it is a life or death decision. And unfortunately, there are choices you believe are right that may actually be silently making your heart more exhausted each day. Have you ever wondered why, despite taking your medications regularly, eating plenty of vegetables and avoiding greasy foods, your blood pressure still fluctuates, your heartbeat remains irregular, and the fatigue never seems to end? I am not here to frighten you. I'm here to share with you the very things that even many doctors overlook, small but dangerous details hidden right in the vegetables on your plate each day. There are certain vegetables that, if eaten the wrong way or while taking certain medications, can weaken your heart, cause your blood to clot, or send your blood pressure soaring without giving you any warning signs. And that silence is the most frightening part. And the very first vegetable I urge you to stop eating immediately is something very familiar, very green, very healthy, yet it can turn the very medication that is meant to save your life into something useless. Can you guess what it is?
1. Spinach, when heart medications become useless. Believe it or not, I have patients, people who exercise diligently, eat clean, give up alcohol completely, who still come to me feeling fatigued, dizzy, with irregular heartbeats. They do everything right, yet their health keeps declining. And after carefully examining every detail of their diet, I discovered a common factor. They all ate spinach every single day. Spinach, the leafy green praised as a superfood, especially in salads and smoothies. It sounds harmless, doesn't it? But if you are taking blood thinners like warfarin, a common medication prescribed for people with atrial fibrillation, stroke, or after heart surgery, then spinach is something you must treat with extreme caution. Why? Because it contains very high levels of vitamin K, and vitamin K is exactly what makes blood clot. The issue is this: medications like warfarin work by thinning the blood to prevent dangerous clots from forming. But if you eat too much spinach, especially irregularly without consistency, the sudden spikes in vitamin K can cancel out the drug's effect. That means you may still take your pill every day, but your blood remains thick. You believe you are protected, but in reality, you are drifting away from safety without realizing it. I once treated a patient who suffered a minor stroke simply because he drank green smoothies every morning for 2 weeks straight. No one had ever warned him that spinach alone could completely undermine his prescription. And what's worse, most people over 60 have no idea that this interaction is happening inside their bodies. Are you sure you're not one of them? Do you remember the last time you told your doctor about changing your vegetable intake? Spinach is not the enemy. The real danger is inconsistency in how you consume it. So, if even one seemingly healthy vegetable can render heart medication useless, how many other familiar foods in your kitchen are quietly hiding similar risks? 2. Pickled vegetables, the salty trap tightening around your heart. Perhaps you've already cut down on oils, given up red meat, and switched to light, plant-based meals. But have you ever noticed those few slices of pickled cucumber sitting next to your rice? That crunchy, tangy little side dish you think is harmless could actually be the salty trap silently squeezing your heart each day. I have seen many elderly patients ask me, "Doctor, why is my blood pressure still high even though I eat so healthy?" And when I probe further, they confess, "I don't eat salty food. I just have a few slices of pickles with each meal, so it's not too bland." But do you know? Just those few slices can contain more than 1,000 milligrams of sodium. That's 2/3 of the maximum daily limit recommended for adults over 60. Sodium is not just salt. It's the substance that makes your body retain water, increases blood volume, and directly raises pressure on artery walls, forcing your heart to work harder. If you already have high blood pressure, atherosclerosis, or mild heart failure, then even a tiny dish of pickles can be the drop that spills the cup without you realizing it. I once had a patient, a woman in her 70s, extremely careful with her diet, who didn't even use fish sauce. Yet her blood pressure was always high, despite taking medication faithfully. After a few days of food monitoring, the culprit was clear. It was the jar of homemade pickles she prepared every week, never measuring how much salt she added, that quietly erased all her efforts to eat clean. The frightening thing about salt is that it doesn't come with an immediate warning. No pain, no fatigue, no dizziness, until one day you find yourself in the middle of a sudden spike in blood pressure, an episode of chest pain, or worse, a silent cardiac arrest with no time to react. So do you know that pickled vegetables, canned greens, and even so-called healthy packaged soups all hide dangerous amounts of sodium? Have you ever checked the food labels or measured the salt you add to your meals? If salt can silently damage your heart without any warning, then what else on your plate, looking tasty and traditional, might actually be overstimulating your nervous system and pushing your heart rate into the danger zone?
3. Red chili peppers, the fiery trigger that weakens your heart. For many older adults, a bit of spiciness in a meal is not just a habit, it's a memory, a joy, the spark that brings flavor back to life after days of blandness. A dash of red chili in the soup, a few fresh slices with vegetables, or a spoonful of chili paste at the tip of your chopsticks. It all seems harmless. But have you ever noticed your heart beating faster after a spicy meal? Red chili peppers, especially the hotter varieties, contain a compound called capsaicin, which stimulates the nervous system and releases adrenaline. For younger people, the body easily adapts to the stimulation. But after 60, when blood vessels have stiffened and the heart muscle has weakened, even that small jolt can force the heart to beat harder, faster, and sometimes lose control. I once met a 68-year-old man, still healthy, still walking every morning, who after a hot pot dinner with his children suddenly felt palpitations, shortness of breath, and an unusually rapid heartbeat. When we checked his EKG and blood pressure, the readings had spiked dramatically. Everything pointed to one simple cause: the spicy meal. The danger is not just too much spice, it's the internal stress reaction capsaicin provokes. It constricts blood vessels, triggers sudden rises in blood pressure, and if you already have hidden heart disease, that tiny chili pepper could be the spark that ignites a heart attack you never saw coming. And that's not all. Research shows that frequent spicy eating can trigger chronic inflammation in blood vessels, silently eroding their inner lining, making them more fragile and prone to blockage. The spiciness you enjoy today could be the final fiery drop that your heart can no longer endure. Have you ever felt tired or had palpitations after a spicy meal? Did you brush it off as just a coincidence? Could it be that your heart is actually speaking up every time you add one more spoonful of chili paste? And if something as small as chili can quietly shake your heart, then what happens when you consume something people praise as a natural miracle cure? What happens when you swallow a raw clove of garlic every morning, believing you are saving your heart? 4. Raw garlic, when God's medicine turns dangerous. I know many people believe in garlic. To them, garlic is not just a spice, it's a remedy. Some swallow raw garlic like a daily supplement. Some begin every morning with a clove, convinced it will protect their heart, lower cholesterol, and boost immunity. And indeed, garlic does have certain benefits. But what happens when a so-called miracle interacts with the very heart medications you take every day? Raw garlic is a natural blood thinner, stronger than you think. If you are already taking medications such as warfarin, aspirin, or clopidogrel, then adding raw garlic daily is like doubling the drug's effect without any control over the dose. What's the result? Your blood may become so thin that it starts to bleed silently inside your intestines, brain, or anywhere else, and you won't realize it until it's too late. I once treated a man in his 60s who came into the hospital with dangerously low blood pressure, black stools, and severe dizziness. He had no idea what was happening. He had been taking his medication regularly, eating healthy, with no injury at all. But when I asked in detail, he said, "I just added 2 raw cloves of garlic every morning. I read that it's God's medicine." I don't dismiss faith in natural remedies, but I do know that after 60, the body no longer reacts the way it used to. Even something good, if overdosed, can turn into a burden. Beyond the risk of internal bleeding, raw garlic can also drop blood pressure too quickly in those already on antihypertensive drugs. You think you are supporting your health, but in reality, your heart may not be getting enough blood to nourish itself. Have you ever felt more tired after eating raw garlic? Have you noticed bruises forming more easily without knowing why? That might not be aging, it might be a sign that your blood is dangerously over-thinned. And if something you trust as nature's medicine can turn against you like this, then what happens when you eat something that looks fresh, crunchy, full of life, yet carries a hidden army of bacteria that could attack your fragile heart after just one meal?
5. Raw bean sprouts, superfood or bacterial breeding ground. We often assume that anything crisp, fresh, cool, and green must surely be healthy. And that's why bean sprouts, or other types of sprouts, are chosen by many as the perfect side dish for salads, sandwiches, or a morning bowl of noodles. But have you ever considered that this very freshness is also the perfect environment for bacteria to thrive? Bean sprouts and microgreens are grown in moist, dark, and warm conditions, the ideal breeding ground for bacteria such as E. coli, Salmonella, and Listeria. For younger people with strong immune systems, these infections might only cause a short bout of diarrhea or mild fever. But for those over 60, especially anyone with heart disease or on medication, even a mild infection can spiral into tragedy. I am not exaggerating. I once treated a 74-year-old patient who was admitted to the hospital, exhausted, feverish, with an irregular heartbeat. After a series of tests, the cause was identified: bacterial infection from raw sprouts in his lunch. No one thought that a handful of crisp greens could throw his heart into chaos like that. But the truth is, as your body ages, every wound heals more slowly, every infection becomes more dangerous, and the heart, already weary, simply cannot take another hit. Have you ever had a digestive upset after a raw salad? Are you certain the vegetables you eat daily are truly clean? And if one small portion of sprouts can break through your body's defenses and strain your heart in just a few hours, then what is the safer choice? That's why the question now is no longer, what should I avoid? But rather, after 60, what should we eat to truly nourish the heart in a way that is sustainable, safe, and full of hope? So what should older adults eat for a truly healthy heart? After hearing about vegetables that may silently harm your heart, you might be feeling worried, even confused. So what's left for me to eat? Isn't eating vegetables supposed to be the best thing? I understand that feeling. That sense that suddenly everything familiar has become suspicious. But rest assured, the good news is there are plenty of vegetables that are not only safe, but also incredibly friendly to your aging heart. After 60, your heart doesn't need a strict diet or expensive foods. What it needs is consistency, easy digestion, anti-inflammatory support, and no conflicts with your medications. And that can come from the simplest dishes: steamed broccoli, lightly roasted carrots, boiled sweet potatoes, lentils, green beans, cooked tomatoes, sautéed kale, or a warm bowl of vegetable soup in the evening. These foods won't spike your blood pressure, won't thin your blood unpredictably, and don't harbor hidden live bacteria. I once cared for a woman in her mid-60s who used to suffer from fatigue, poor sleep, and irregular heartbeats. After adjusting her meals, nothing extreme, just lentil soup 3 times a week, sweet potatoes for lunch, and moderate portions of steamed vegetables each evening, her health improved significantly. No miracle cure, no extreme restrictions, just the right, steady, and sustainable choices. Have you ever felt drained after a raw salad? Or dizzy after eating raw garlic? Have you wondered, I eat clean, so why am I still tired? Perhaps the issue isn't about eating clean, but about eating what is right for your heart at this stage of life. And if you worry that healthy eating will make your meals bland, try using fresh lemon, herbs, turmeric, ginger, or mild black pepper. The flavors are still rich and satisfying, but they won't put your heart under stress. You don't have to choose between taste and safety. You only need to choose wisely. So which dish will you start with today? A bowl of steamed vegetables, a warm sweet potato, or a spoonful of tender lentils? Whatever it is, remember this: your heart can still recover if you begin nourishing it starting today. Your heart still has time. Do you remember when I said that some vegetables can quietly harm your heart? Now you understand why. Vegetables are not always heroes. After 60, your body no longer processes food the way it used to. Every dish, every vegetable, every method of cooking, they can either be a gentle support or a heavy burden on your heart. But as you've seen, there is no need to panic, no need to cut everything out, no need to live harshly. You only need awareness, and then the right choices. You've learned about 5 vegetables to watch out for, and you also now hold a list of safe, gentle foods that support your blood vessels, your medications, and the loving beats of your still faithful heart. I have witnessed hearts that seemed tired, ready to give up, come back to life with just a few small changes. A bowl of soup, a plate of steamed vegetables, a quiet persistence. Not extremism, not miracles, just choices, repeated day after day. So, what lesson did you take away from today's video? What made you pause and reflect? Share it in the comments, not just so I know you're here, but because someone else reading your words might find exactly what they've been searching for. If you found this video helpful, hit like, share it with loved ones over 60, and subscribe so you don't miss the most practical health guidance. I wish you and your heart, still with so much time ahead, all the best.